Brett, what are you standing for? You've got 3 minutes. Off you go.
3 years ago I stood down from council because I was disgusted at the explosion in staff numbers, which has continued in the last 3 years. And both myself and John Dale Zeal sort of felt the same way, but we were just getting nowhere. So I thought I resigned and I could get a bit more publicity about the issue. Currently, when Lynn started here, there was 5.6 million a year was the cost of the ratepayers of the staff, and that was for 65 FTEs. Now there's 134 FTEs and it's costing you 14.2 million. Now that actually makes the Civic Centre and a lot of other things insignificant. But you never heard a debate about it, you were never consulted about it, and if you ask councillors where the staff are gone, they can't tell you. Some of them will respond that, oh, government's given them all these rules. So if anyone wants to answer that question, I'll fine it down to why did the comms department increase from 1 person to 5 to deal with the media and get their message out? All they've done is to try and smooth the message, get the spin, keep you all quiet and keep putting the rates up. So that's the foremost reason I'm standing, because I see a chance to hold, especially some of the 6 that voted for the Civic Centre so long over the last term at the cost of everything else. So I'm trying to make sure that Sandy Bryan, Brent here and Tina Nixon are at least held to account, or better still, not elected. So that's sort of my foremost reason for standing. And talking to my colleagues that are standing, I'm not saying they'll want to go as far as me, I doubt it, but there's a strong mood for a change, and I think I can contribute to that. Thank you.
Thanks, Brett. Okay. Other candidates? All right. It's a race. Or are you just going to the bar set? Right, here we go. And don't forget, introduce yourself, say what you're standing for.
Thank you.
And you've got 3 minutes starting.
Thank you, Peter, for the opportunity. Now, my name's Graham Dick. I'm standing in the Masterton General Board. Now, I've been around Masterton since about 1972, living and working around mainly in farming and then forestry, so I know a bit about those industries. I've been on the Friends of the Park committee for some time in the last 10 years as Secretary Treasurer, so I know a bit about the park and the Park Lake. And I do remember an occasion in 1983 when we had a raft race, and you could fall off the lake and you could walk in the lake. I'm sure you cannot do it now because it's slowly degraded, but that's not the major issue. But I have a question. I have a question of Councillors Gare, Nixon and Ryan, and that is quite simply, did they know that when they voted in the council meeting in June 2022 this year and passed the Civic Centre Working Group motion with a budget of $300,000, that the expenditure to date on the Civic Centre project amounted to $641,558. Now I have this on Masterton District Council letterhead, and it's signed by Phil Evans. Now if you add 300,000 to 641,000, you get close to 950,000. And you add to that, still to come at the end of the financial year is anticipated from the architect, and end of the year financial invoices anticipated from the architect. So there's more to come. So they've spent, or allowed to spend, close to $1 million of ratepayers' money. Did they know at that time to spend that extra $300,000 how much they had spent and how much more and what the total was going to be? Because if not, then there are some serious questions to be answered. And that's my thing.
Thank you very much indeed, Graham. All right, your time starts now.
Good evening, folks. I'm David Holmes and I'm standing at large. And I'm very delighted, absolutely delighted to see so many people here tonight. It's a shame we didn't have a proper community, a big one in something like Mayoral College. Cutting to the chase, I have lived in this area for the last 54 years. I've been involved with lots of organisations and I've done 4.5 terms on council. I'm standing at large and I just would like to point out to people how important this next 3 years is. There's so many changes with Three Waters, which I absolutely oppose Three Waters and co-governance. There's Three Waters, there's REMA reform and local government reform, and it's huge. And that's what we only know about. What concerns me even more with regards to Three Waters, I heard yesterday, there's only 44 days that the Parliament will be sitting before the next general election. One of my big concerns, and I've been hammering on about it for a long time now, is water storage. We just do not have enough water here. And with the purchase of land at Kaituna, we are going to go from 3 to 60 days of storage when that's completed in a few years' time. And that has all been already budgeted for, and I'm right behind it, and the council have made the right decision there. Infrastructure in town is appalling. It's just out of date. And we've got all these new subdivisions going up Namatama Road, but the problem is between Namatama Road and Columba Road, it's old pipework. And I know we had a vote the other day about an area in Columba, Kiripuni Street. There's problems in 1st Street, 2nd Street, Balance Street, so we need a plan, and they're working on the plan now, and last few years we've spent about 13 million just finding out where water leaks are and sewage leaks are. The Civic Centre needs to be built. We own the land, the ratepayers own the land where the town hall is, and we must stay there. And we must redesign it or whatever with local people, and local businesses will donate material to help build it. The library is in the same situation. What people don't realise is that we had a railway, we were promised an upgrade in our railway by 22. That sadly was stopped at the last budget. Government pulled the plug on it. It was a lot of money. We would have had the workshops up here, 50 people involved. Now that's been put off for a long time, and I don't know when it is. Another dream of mine, and I've been at it for a long time, is have a bypass. I'd like to have a bypass from the fire station out here up the Waipura River to meet the Namatama bypass, which is up there, and that would take all the big trucks out of town. Now that bypass, if it's properly managed with Greater Wellington Regional Council, could act as a stop bank as well. That's so practical, but it seems so nonsensical that nothing happens about it. We're told that it's Wakatahi have to fund it. So the other thing that I've been really happy about in my last term was that I actually got the Rural Advisory Committee going. This is a bunch of farmers that we've picked who actually applied for the job and have got it. And we have meetings, about the rural area, and we come back to council. That's really just getting momentum now, so I'd like to think if I get back on council next time, we can roll it over as well. 30 seconds. We have a lot of hard work to do. The decisions that we make are not always easy, and over this term I've made some really hard decisions personally myself. I've been on my own with 2 decisions I've made. One was with the Maori ward, I believe that we should have had, I think anybody is available to sit on any seat, no matter what race or colour you are. And the other one which I had hard following it, and Tina Nixon backed me, we voted against the climate change plan. We don't disagree with the plan, but what worries us, there's not one mention of costing in it. So when there's a few costings come around, I will support it. But I thank everybody, and I hope you support me as David Holmes at large.
All right, our next candidate.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Brent Gear and I'm standing at large. Generally a positive person, so I won't dive into character assassination or anything else like that. Look, a little bit about me. I've lived in Masterton for just over 18 years. I've raised my family here. I've got a son who's going off to tertiary study next year. My daughter is currently attending Chanel College. In my time here, I've been heavily involved in sport and the arts. In fact, our local 31st group, my son just did the lighting for it at the national finals at Toy for Karting in Wellington last weekend, which was really impressive. It's the second time they've made it. Obviously, COVID curtailed a few things, but he was part of the King John group that made the finals last time. I love my sport as well, so I'm currently a rugby referee. This year we started our first Wairarapa Women's Rugby Club, Waihi Toa, which has been hugely successful, and just completed a representative program away to Paeroa and to Turangi last weekend, which is two very, very big trips over a very short period of time, but it's been absolutely marvellous. Look, I love this place. We, like I said, moved here just over 18 years ago. We love it here. The facilities here are absolutely fantastic for small towns. I've lived all over New Zealand. I was born in Christchurch, moved into Westport at a young age, lived in Greymouth, Blenheim, Timaru, and have now settled in Masterton. We thought we'd be here maybe 2 or 3 years. I work in radio, so generally you tend to move on 2 or 3 years later, but we love the place. It's got everything that we need, that we want, and it's absolutely fantastic. And for the most part, there is some absolutely wonderful people in this community that give and give and give. And I stood for council last term because I wanted to do exactly that too, to give back, not just in community organisations, but at a governance level. I've served on multiple committees. I've been on the Wairarapa Bush Rugby Board, and am a current councillor and seeking your vote for re-election. Not one person's actually asked me anything about any decision I've made, which other than Lynn and the team at the Masterton Residents and Ratepayers. So yeah, it's interesting these questions come up now. But always open for a chat, always happy to have that discussion. If there's anything you want to know, open book. So yeah, if you've got anything you want to ask, feel free to drop me a message or have a yarn tonight. Thanks very much. Cool. Thanks, Sean.
Thank you. Who's our next banner up? Have we got any more candidates?
Yep.
Oh, yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
G'day.
How are you?
Good, thank you.
I'm Hewitt Harrison, and I'm obviously not standing on timeliness because I've only just arrived, so I'll have to give some thought to that and make sure I sort myself out once I'm on council. I've put my name forward on this occasion. Oh, you can't hear. Is that better? I put my name forward on this occasion when I arrived here back in 2005. Not long after that, there was quite a community discussion about the iron framework down by the gates to Queen Elizabeth Park, and a lot of people complained about the ugly framework that had been put up there. The council made a big thing about growing roses over this framework, so eventually you wouldn't see the frame. And 17 years later, I think one rose bush has got to the top. But I took notice of that because in my previous life in other parts of New Zealand and around the world, I'd taken very little interest in politics, either of a national nature or at local level. But I thought, oh, this is a vibrant community. They've got pretty interested in this iron framework and the roses. So I've watched over a period of time to see how people have reacted to different issues. And last year, when the long-term plan came out, I was horrified to see that the $15 million that had been put aside in 2019 for a replacement town hall had suddenly escalated 2 years or 2 and a bit years later to $30 plus million for a civic centre where we didn't know where it was going. And so I got a little bit more active and became part of the Masters in Action group, of which I'm a co-chair with Graham Dick, and we have fought that fairly solidly since. My candidacy is based on affordability and transparency and accountability. Affordability, you just have to look at the Civic Centre proposal. It was difficult to justify $15 million in 2019, but I believe that was a realistic estimate. And in the ensuing 2 years, or sorry, in the 2 years from 3 years from 2016 to 2019, Kapiti District Council built a performing arts centre for $12.5 million. So yeah, $15 million was a realistic estimate at that time. In 2021, it had gone to $30 million. And not only was it a replacement town hall, it was a new library, it was new municipal offices, and so on and so forth. And we had not been, the community had not really been consulted to the point that they could say, yes, we think that's a great solution. Now, of course, it's a $70 million project, and I say to you and to all the ratepayers and residents of Masterton, $70 million for a population of 28,000 is not affordable. So, on that part, big pardon?
30 seconds.
How much have I got?
30 seconds.
30? 28 now. 28, right. Yeah, obviously I'm bad on time, aren't I? Transparency, well, again, I use that Civic Centre proposal. Transparency, we didn't have any transparency during that period from the $15 million to the $30 million. It was something that happened behind closed doors, and suddenly it appeared in the long-term plan as a $30 million project with the library and everything else added in. So transparency, I'm really keen to see better communication, not just from council to the community, but the opportunity for the community to come back to council and talk to councillors.
Right, you?
I've gone?
Yeah, you're done.
I'm done?
Yeah.
Okay, can I have one more sentence?
Yeah.
One sentence.
A short sentence.
A short sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully some of you will have received my flyers and the
Here's a sentence.
If you haven't, I've got plenty here, and I'd love you to have it.
Good idea. Thank you.
Yes. Am I too loud? Can we turn it down? I'll just stand back a little bit. Good. Better to be able to hear than not. So who is Stella Lennox? Well, I was born and bred here. I removed myself, and I did. I went to Ireland and I came back in 2008 with my husband, and we've since had 2 children, and we live here locally. I have vested interests in urban and rural. I'm currently the chair for the Lakeview School Board of Trustees, and I'm also the chair of the Te Hapori Skate Park Community Group, which I established through meeting with public members around the antisocial behaviour that we all heard about at the park. I'm an active community member, already working very closely with varying community groups, advocating, supporting and aiding these groups to achieve their goals. I'm passionate about this town, its people and its place. I'm solutions driven, I get things done with more action, less noise. So council, I think it's good that we need to reflect on what's happened in the past, but the future is bright, and with a new council, we need to start focusing on what's going to happen going forward. We need to work together, and the culture must change. We need to reassess how we connect with the community, with your people, and I know we've had lots of feedback already from the public in regards, sorry madam, that it's quite hard standing up here talking in front of lots of people, but I'll step back. Sorry that my voice is being a bit loud. We need to reassess how we connect with the community. We need to be visual, present, transparent and honest. And we need to scrap the closed door meetings and workshops and invite key people in for these discussions. Infrastructure is my #1 priority, and ensuring that the community has a clear, transparent plan of works being carried out and that they're accountable for. If we can, and where we can, we need to be using local trades for the local work and consulting with the brains that we have within our own town. There's lots of clever people already in many industries that we can reach out to. Rates affordability is important to me as a homeowner. We need to have the right mix with our differentials in regards to urban, business, rural rates and user charges. I'm really keen that early in council we look at how we set our rates. The Civic Centre and obviously other major priority projects, whether it be the town upgrade, we need to actually ask what does our community really want. I know a lot of talk did happen and then COVID hit, but we need to reassess that and reach out to the community again. We need a new approach, we need to re-engage, reassess viable solutions. Yeah. We're building, thank you Tina, we're building for the future of Masterton, for the now and the future. We're not going backwards, so we need to look forward. And what can the town afford in regards to these projects? We need to look at that. Look, I don't come with a massive accolade backing me of this, that and the other, but I've got passion, I've got drive, I've got a loud voice, as you've all heard tonight, and I'm standing for the right reasons, and I believe that I could add a really wonderful, vibrant, honest component to the new council when they're elected. Thank you.
Before you go, I didn't catch your name.
Sorry. Did I not say it?
Yeah, no.
Well, I'm leaving that till last because that's going to be your lasting memory. I'm Stella Lennox.
Stella Lennox. Thank you, Stella. All right. Any other takers? Yes, we did. Stop. No.
Kia ora, I'm Sandy Ryan and I'm re-standing for at-large. I didn't know we got to speak, I thought it was just me, so I didn't come prepared, and I don't like public speaking to be honest, but like others, I'm a relative newbie to Masterton. I returned to live here 12 years ago to take up the role as Masterton District Council's first Community Development Advisor. I was a social worker for CCS in my early days, and then I moved to Auckland where I went into business for myself. My husband took retirement from the police after 20 years, here and in other places, and I became the main earner while he recovered. I had 2 Wendy Super Sundays, one in St Luke's and one in Papatoa. You work 7 days a week, you don't get time off, and you employ an awful lot of young people, so I'm used to leading. I then went on to work for Housing New Zealand in the most deprived community in New Zealand as a tenancy manager, and I really enjoyed that actually. And then I was shoulder tapped by Manukau City Council to go and be in their community advisory team, and I did that until I saw the position here. My husband's English and my kids went off to live in the UK like kids do, and so I said, look, I want to go back to the Wairarapa. I loved it there. And the opportunity, of course, came up as the community advisor for council. I'm a doer, I'm not a talker. I established lots of things when I had that role. I did the 12 months of Christmas, I did the little free libraries, I set up the neighbourhood planning groups, and the Lansdowne group led by me morphed into a Lansdowne association where, you know, we've replanted the streams, we've helped, we refurbished First Street, we've helped with the refurbishment of Burling Park. Sorry, I'm standing a bit close, aren't I set up a free school holiday program. We used to have 300 kids at that and we fed them. All those things have gone actually, which is a bit sad. And I didn't do that from rates, that all came from external funding. I think I've brought in about 90,000 to Lansdowne to make sure that things happen. I led a working party with the current mayor as the chair, which was to look at social housing needs, which resulted in the emergency and the transitional housing. And of course now Kainga Ora is returning to Masterton, which is great news for people who need secure homes. 3 waters, I'm an absolute no. The first thing I said when we heard that was we'll have no voice, and we won't have a voice. We're going to be in a very big entity where our voice won't be heard, and our asset plans, which despite what you might believe are very good asset plans, they will sadly get buried in that entity. So I'm an absolute no. We have had a long plan to renew our piping system. If it had been done in the early days when we had previous councillors, we wouldn't be in the position we're in now, and I would be, the most upset person in the world if I was living in one of those homes that are so affected. But right at this minute, no matter who you are, if you listen to council meetings, we have been told and told and told it cannot be, the solution cannot be implemented right at this minute. We need a plan. We've got, water storage, climate change. I'm on the climate change caucus with Chris Peterson. It's a serious issue, and we did purchase land at Kaituna. We are working on improving our water storage. We've got to create resilience in the community. I'm the first to admit we can no longer afford 71 million on a civic centre, and yes, I was one of the ones who voted for it. I desperately believe a town this size, which is growing, we're one of the fastest growing towns per capita in New Zealand. We need a place to celebrate and to come together, but it's got to be affordable. So, I'm fully accepting that we need to go through a complete review and see what we can do. It was fabulous to hear Joe say tonight that iwi want to work with us, and that could be one of the solutions. I'm currently, I'm a business owner. My husband and I, when we returned here, he set up a business, concrete grinding, Concrete Extra we called. My son, who came back from the UK with a wife, followed him. Oh, okay. So I have a husband and son and I in business. I have 3 grandsons living here now, but my main role outside council is I am the funding and project manager for a national disability organisation called People First, and I work at high level with MSD, Mayoral, which used to be Ministry of Health. I work with researchers, so I'm quite used to working at that level. I'm not very loud about it, but I do. And remember, this is a great place. We need to keep progressing. This is the best little town in New Zealand. And like Tina, I just want to see it keep going. You just look around and you see building everywhere, but it's not just about building, it's about being able to come together and celebrate who we are, because this is a great place. I chose to come and live here. I could have happily stayed in Auckland, but I knew this was the place I wanted to be. And I want to contribute. I'm a worker. I'm a real worker. I don't always talk about it.
Thank you, Sam. The floor is yours. Off you go.
Kia ora tātou, Chris Peterson. I know I'm getting to the end of my run, and I did think long and hard about this, but I think David hit it on the head when he said that this is going to be one of the most important elections for a long, long time for local government. And to be honest, the civic centre, although it's very important locally, will be the least of it. There's the resource management reform, the local government reform. Local government, won't be the same again, and I think we need to have a hand in guiding which way it will go. Hopefully, one of the outcomes of that will be that they will find some supplementary forms of income for local government, apart from property rates, which is a very blunt instrument. But local government is big business now, and I've seen the change over my time on local government when it's really started, quite small stuff. But now it's, I think we're in Marsden, we're a $50 million business, and to be honest, I've heard a little bit of negative stuff tonight, but we've got a good council and a good CEO and a good staff. And they work their butts off. It doesn't mean to say that there wouldn't be other ways of doing some things, but that's life, isn't it? So I guess it's with all those important things, coming down the track to us, that we do need to have some experience. We do need new people, we need new blood. I think every council needs that, but you also need some old heads and some old hands. What did I read in an old canoeing magazine with us? way back when I was doing it with that. That good judgment comes from experience, and experience comes from bad judgment. And I've had plenty of time to make my mistakes and to learn. So, but as you may have seen from my flyer, you know, I guess my passion and my concern these days is climate change. And, you know, I haven't heard much about it tonight, but it is the elephant in all our rooms. It really is. And I can remember when I first went on council, you know, if I mentioned climate change, I'd be told to shut up and sit down. And it was, back then it was, we had this sort of, this binary. It was either, you either had a healthy environment or a healthy economy, but you couldn't have both. But I think there's a realisation nowadays that we have to have a better balance, and we have to, you know, yes, we have to mend our ways with the natural world. So. That's my passion, and you know, we've got a very good climate action plan. Just last week, the last action of council was to endorse that. But I can see, I've been, you know, you get a wee bit cynical, and I've seen a lot of reports, just lovely words, but they just sit up on the shelf. Yeah. So it's walking that talk, and you know. What do they say? That climate change is like a slow-moving tsunami. We just don't see it, but it's, the consequences are just
15 seconds.
And so, you know, that's my passion, is to keep that on the agenda. I'll only be one of 7 now, not 10. And this is a very important election, a very important council that you're electing, and you know. If I get a chance, I'd like to play my part. Yeah.